Promise you will not laugh when you see me tomorrow. Jamie Parker stared at the message glowing on his phone and smiled into the darkness of his Seattle apartment. It was almost midnight. Rain tapped softly against the window, and Nader was apparently having another crisis about their first date. You have asked me that 3 times, Jamie typed. The reply appeared almost instantly. Because you keep avoiding the promise. Jamie laughed. For months earlier, Nader had been nothing more than a funny username beneath one of Jamie's illustrations in an online design community. One comment had become a conversation. The conversation had become nightly messages. Somewhere between arguments about terrible movies and reminders to eat dinner, Nate had become the person Jamie looked forward to hearing from most. He was sweet, attentive, and almost ridiculously clingy. If Jamie disappeared for an hour, Nate wanted to know whether he was okay. If Jamie mentioned skipping lunch, Nate reacted as though this were a personal betrayal. Yet they had never exchanged full names, company information, or photographs. At first, anonymity had made talking easier. Later, revealing everything seemed like something worth doing face-to-face. Tomorrow night, they finally would. Jamie typed, "Fine. I promise I will not laugh." 3 dots appeared. Even if I am disappointing? Jamie's smile faded. You could show up wearing socks with sandals, and I would only judge you a little. Jamie, you are not going to disappoint me. This time the reply took longer. Good night. Please sleep before 1 in the morning. Jamie glanced at the clock. 12:07. You are not my boss. Nate answered immediately. Thankfully. The next morning, Jamie discovered exactly how thankful he should be. Reed Creative Group occupied 18 floors of a glass tower overlooking downtown Seattle, and Jamie had barely reached his desk when his supervisor appeared beside him. Conference room. Now, Mr. Reed wants the campaign presentation revised before noon. Jamie's stomach tightened. Nathan Reed was 32, an alpha CEO with a reputation for treating deadlines as promises rather than suggestions. Jamie had worked at the company for 7 months and had never seen Nathan raise his voice. He never needed to. 10 minutes later, Jamie sat with 6 coworkers while Nathan stood beside a wall display showing their newest advertising campaign. His dark suit was immaculate, his expression unreadable. Slide 14, Nathan said. Jamie opened it. The visual hierarchy is fighting the message. Jamie swallowed. He had designed that slide. I can simplify it. Nathan looked directly at him. How long? 2 hours. You have 90 minutes. Jamie almost protested, then noticed the smallest shift in Nathan's expression, as though he were waiting to see whether Jamie would challenge him. I will have it in 75. A brief silence followed. Good, Nathan said. By 11:42, Jamie delivered the revision. Nathan studied it for several seconds. Better. From anyone else, the word would have sounded ordinary. From Nathan Reed, it felt suspiciously like applause. Jamie returned to his desk and found a message waiting on his phone. Nader had written, "Morning. Did your terrifying boss ruin your day yet?" Jamie glanced toward the glass conference room, where Nathan was already dismantling someone else's schedule with calm efficiency. He typed, "He tried. I survived." Nate replied, "Proud of you." Jamie smiled. His boss and his online boyfriend could not have been more different. One was controlled, distant, and impossible to read. The other sent good morning messages, worried when Jamie skipped meals, and had spent half the night nervous about a first date. Jamie slipped his phone into his pocket, completely certain of one thing. Thank goodness Nate was nothing like Nathan Reed. By 3 in the afternoon, Jamie had revised 2 more layouts, survived a client call, and answered 4 messages from Nate asking whether he had eaten lunch. The 4th arrived while Jamie was standing beside the office printer. I am serious. Coffee is not lunch. Jamie smiled and typed, "You sound like somebody's worried grandmother." Nate replied, "Your worried grandmother would be correct." Jamie was still grinning when Nathan Reed walked past with a tablet under one arm. He stopped, looked at Jamie's untouched coffee, then at the vending machine snack sitting beside it. "Coffee is not lunch, Parker." Jamie froze. Nathan continued toward the executive elevators without another word. For several seconds, Jamie stared after him. Then he looked down at his phone. The exact similarity made something strange flicker through his thoughts, but he dismissed it almost immediately. Millions of people probably said coffee was not lunch. Besides, Nathan Reed and Nate could not possibly occupy the same universe. Nathan communicated like every sentence cost money. Nate once sent Jamie 9 consecutive messages because Jamie refused to admit that a romantic comedy had made him cry. At 5:36, Jamie finally shut down his computer and hurried home through a light Seattle drizzle. His first date was at 7, and suddenly every shirt he owned looked wrong. Nate had refused to reveal exactly what he would wear until Jamie complained that meeting an anonymous online boyfriend in a crowded cafe required some identification. At 6:12, the promised message arrived. Navy coat. Blue book. 7 o'clock. I will find you. Jamie typed, "That sounds unnecessarily dramatic. I practiced it." "Of course you did. What are you wearing?" Jamie looked at his reflection. Dark jeans, brown boots, and a forest green sweater beneath his coat. Green sweater. Nate responded with a heart, followed quickly by, "Too much." Jamie shook his head, smiling. "You are hopeless. And yet you agreed to meet me." The cafe sat on a corner in Capitol Hill, warm light spilling across rain-darkened sidewalks. Jamie arrived at 6:48 because being 12 minutes early felt better than being 1 minute late. He chose a small table near the window and ordered hot chocolate instead of coffee, mostly because Nate would probably interrogate him about his caffeine intake. At 6:55, Jamie checked his phone. Nothing new. At 6:58, his stomach began performing increasingly unreasonable gymnastics. At exactly 7, the bell above the cafe door rang. Jamie looked up. A man entered wearing a navy coat. Jamie's heart jumped until the stranger turned around and revealed gray hair and a toddler holding his hand. Jamie quietly laughed at himself. Then the door opened again. This time, Jamie's smile vanished. Nathan Reed stepped inside. He was unmistakable even without the tailored black suit Jamie associated with the office. His navy overcoat was buttoned against the rain, his dark hair slightly damp, and beneath one arm, he carried a blue hardcover book. Jamie stared. Nathan scanned the cafe once. His eyes found Jamie immediately. For one impossible second, neither man moved. Jamie's mind rushed toward every explanation except the obvious one. Maybe Nathan had a meeting nearby. Maybe the book was coincidence. Maybe Seattle had suddenly declared navy coats mandatory. Then Nathan began walking directly toward him. Jamie stood so quickly his chair scraped the floor. "Mr. Reed." Nathan stopped beside the table. "Jamie." Jamie glanced toward the door, expecting another man to appear behind him. "I am sorry, but I am waiting for someone." Nathan looked at the empty chair opposite Jamie, then back at him. His expression was calm, but there was unmistakable nervousness beneath it, something Jamie had never once seen at work. "I know," Nathan said. Jamie's phone vibrated on the table. A new message from Nate appeared on the screen. "I found you." Jamie slowly lifted his eyes. Nathan placed the blue book on the table and said, "You are waiting for me." Jamie stared at Nathan, then at the message glowing on his phone, then back at Nathan as if repeating the sequence might produce a different answer. It did not. "No," Jamie said. Nathan's eyebrows lifted slightly. "No. You cannot just walk in here carrying the correct book, send a message at the correct second, and expect me to accept this." Nathan remained standing beside the table. "What would you accept?" Jamie pointed at the empty chair. "Sit down. You are taking a test." For perhaps the first time since Jamie had started working at Reed Creative Group, Nathan Reed looked genuinely uncertain. He slowly sat across from him. Jamie folded his arms. Question 1. What did you call me after I spent 3 hours complaining about that terrible superhero movie? Nathan answered immediately. Captain Bad Taste. Jamie narrowed his eyes. Question 2. What food do I refuse to order on pizza? Olives. Why? Because you claim they taste like salty rubber, which is unnecessarily dramatic. Jamie's confidence weakened. Question 3. What happened the night we first talked until 2 in the morning? Nathan's expression softened. You were redesigning a poster for a community theater because you hated the original font. You said you would stop after 10 minutes. 3 hours later, you were still working. Jamie remembered sitting cross-legged on his apartment floor that night, laughing at messages from someone he had never met. What did you tell me? He asked quietly. That caring too much about small things was probably why you were good at what you did. The cafe suddenly felt too warm. Jamie looked down at the blue book between them. Nathan waited without reaching for it. Anybody could have gotten access to messages, Jamie said, though he no longer believed it. Then ask something nobody else would understand. Jamie thought for several seconds. The penguin. Nathan closed his eyes briefly. You promised never to mention the penguin in public. Answer. You sent me a photograph of a ceramic penguin wearing a yellow raincoat because you said it looked like me. Jamie almost smiled. And what did you say? Nathan's mouth curved slightly. I said it was insulting because the penguin had better posture. That ended the test. Jamie leaned back, stunned. Across from him sat the Alpha CEO who could silence a conference room with a glance. Yet Jamie could suddenly hear every ridiculous late-night conversation in Nathan's measured voice. You really are Nate. Yes. The man who sent me 6 reminders to bring an umbrella last Tuesday. It rained. This is Seattle. That was not a difficult prediction. Nathan almost smiled again, but Jamie did not. A more uncomfortable realization had arrived. When did you know? Nathan's expression changed. Know what? That I was Jamie Parker from your company. Nathan looked toward the rain-streaked window before answering. About 6 weeks ago. Jamie went still. 6 weeks. You sent me a photograph of a design draft. The file name included your employee identification format. I recognized it. Jamie stared at him. So for 6 weeks, you knew exactly who I was. Yes. And every morning I walked into work without knowing you were the person I talked to every night. Nathan's hands rested motionless beside the blue book. I wanted to tell you, but you did not. No. Jamie's excitement about the date drained away, replaced by something harder to name. The problem was no longer whether Nathan could prove he was Nate. He had already done that. The problem was that Nathan had possessed the truth, while Jamie had continued trusting someone who was still partly hidden. Jamie looked directly at him. I have one more question. Nathan nodded. Ask. Jamie's voice was quiet now. Which one is actually you? The man sitting here, the man in my messages, or the man everyone at work is afraid to disappoint? Nathan did not answer immediately, and for the first time that evening, Jamie realized he was afraid of what the answer might be. Both, Nathan finally said. Jamie had expected an explanation, perhaps even an excuse, but the single word unsettled him more than either. Nathan rested his hands beside the blue book and continued. Neither version is an act. At work, I make decisions that affect hundreds of people, major clients, and millions of dollars. If I hesitate every time someone dislikes a decision, I cannot do my job. Jamie studied him. And Nate? Nathan's expression softened. Nate is who I am when nobody needs anything from Nathan Reed. The answer landed quietly between them. Around the cafe, cups touched saucers, an espresso machine hissed, and rain traced crooked lines down the windows. Nathan looked strangely out of place without a conference table separating them. I joined that design community because I wanted somewhere I could talk about things without my name arriving before I did, he said. People behave differently when they know who I am. Jamie understood that more than he wanted to. So you became Nader. I used part of my name and my middle initial. I was not trying to invent another person. Until you figured out who I was. Nathan looked down. Yes. Jamie's frustration sharpened. That is the part you keep stepping around. I know. For 6 weeks, you walked past my desk knowing what movie I watched the night before, whether I had eaten dinner, what I worried about. Everything I told you because I thought we were equally anonymous. Nathan did not interrupt. Jamie almost wished he would. Arguing with the cold chief executive officer would have been easier than watching Nate listen. You had information I did not have, Jamie continued. You knew where I worked. You knew what I looked like. You knew when I was standing 10 feet away from you. I did not even know your last name. You are right. Jamie blinked. That is it. Would you prefer that I tell you that you are wrong? I would prefer an explanation. Nathan took a slow breath. The first night I recognized you, I planned to tell you immediately. Then you messaged me after a difficult day at work. You complained about your terrifying boss for 20 minutes. Jamie closed his eyes. Please do not remind me. You were honest with me in a way nobody at the company is honest with me. I told myself I would explain the next day. Then the next day became a week. And a week became 6. Yes. Nathan's voice remained calm, but regret had replaced the certainty Jamie knew from the office. Every day I waited made telling you harder. That was cowardly, and it was unfair to you. Jamie had prepared himself for excuses about privacy, security, or corporate reputation. An apology without defense was harder to reject, but it did not erase what happened. He looked at the untouched hot chocolate in front of him. I believe that you cared about me. Nathan's eyes lifted. I do. That does not mean I am ready to pretend this is fine. Nathan nodded once. I understand. Jamie reached for his coat. Nathan did not try to stop him. That mattered, but not enough to make him stay. Jamie stood and looked at the blue book. I need some distance. Then you have it. Jamie hesitated. No messages tonight. A flicker of hurt crossed Nathan's face before he controlled it. No messages. Jamie walked out into the Seattle rain, expecting his phone to vibrate before he reached the corner. It did not. At midnight, it was still silent. The next morning, Jamie entered Reed Creative Group, bracing himself for awkwardness. Nathan passed him near the elevators with two executives beside him. He gave Jamie the same professional nod he gave everyone else. Good morning, Parker. Good morning, Mr. Reed. Nathan continued walking. No secret glance. No private conversation. No attempt to change Jamie's mind. By lunchtime, Jamie had checked his phone 7 times. There were no messages from Nader. For months, Jamie had wanted to know which Nathan was real. Now, faced with the silence he himself had requested, he began to understand the more difficult answer. They both were. For the next 5 days, Jamie discovered that getting exactly what he had asked for could feel surprisingly terrible. Nathan gave him distance with almost mathematical precision. At Reed Creative Group, he remained professional, calm, and impossible to fault. When Jamie presented revised concepts during a Tuesday campaign meeting, Nathan evaluated his work exactly as he evaluated everyone else's. The second layout communicates faster, he said. Develop that direction. No private smile followed. No reference to the conversations they had once shared after midnight. When the meeting ended, Nathan left with the senior team, and Jamie caught himself watching the door after him. That evening, Jamie heated leftover pasta in his apartment and automatically reached for his phone. For 4 months, dinner had usually produced some message from Nate. Real food tonight. Or, please tell me crackers do not count as a meal again. Now the chat remained silent beneath their final conversation. Jamie put the phone face down. 10 minutes later, he turned it over again. Nothing. By Thursday, he was annoyed with himself. He had requested distance. Nathan was respecting it. That should have made everything simpler. Instead, the silence revealed how thoroughly Nate had become part of Jamie's ordinary life. He missed sending photographs of badly designed advertisements he spotted on the bus. He missed arguing about movies. He even missed the ridiculous check-ins that had once made him call Nate Clingy. More confusing was what Jamie began noticing at work. Nathan was not suddenly warmer because Jamie knew his secret. He still challenged weak proposals. He still expected deadlines to mean something. But Jamie started seeing details he had previously interpreted only as coldness. Nathan never embarrassed employees for mistakes in front of clients. When a junior copywriter admitted that a family emergency had delayed her work, Nathan quietly moved the deadline rather than demanding an explanation. When a presentation failed during a client meeting, he took responsibility for the delay himself and discussed the technical problem afterward with the team. None of it looked like the cheerful Nate from Jamie's phone, yet the same instinct was there beneath the sharper edges. Notice the problem, solve what could be solved. Do not make someone feel smaller than necessary. Friday afternoon, Jamie was working alone in a small conference room when his supervisor, Melissa Grant, stepped inside. You have been quiet this week. Jamie kept his eyes on his laptop. Busy. Melissa placed a folder beside him. Your quarterly review. Jamie's stomach tightened. Nathan's name was nowhere on it. Melissa had completed the evaluation, and the scores were strong. Jamie had earned high marks for concept development, reliability, and client revisions. Attached was a recommendation that he join a new regional campaign team. This came from you? Jamie asked. From me and 2 project leads. Mr. Reed was not involved? Melissa looked puzzled. Why would the chief executive officer personally handle a junior designer's quarterly review? Jamie felt foolish and relieved at the same time. No reason. That evening, he left the office beneath a gray Seattle sky and walked 3 blocks before the rain began. His hand moved toward his phone out of habit. Nate would have reminded him to bring an umbrella. Jamie stopped beneath an awning and laughed quietly at the thought. Then his phone vibrated. His heart jumped before he could stop it. The message was not from Nate. It was an automated notification from the design community where they had first met. Jamie opened the application anyway. Nader's chat sat at the top, silent for 5 days. Jamie placed his thumb over the message field. He could end the silence with one sentence. Instead, he locked the screen. He was not ready yet. But for the first time, Jamie understood something important. Nathan had not disappeared because he stopped caring. He had disappeared because Jamie asked him to, and a man accustomed to controlling almost everything had chosen to respect the one boundary Jamie needed most. Monday morning brought a change Jamie had not expected. Melissa called them into a small conference room before 9 and closed the door behind them. "Your regional campaign assignment has been approved," she said, sliding a printed project brief across the table. Jamie smiled despite himself. "Seriously? Seriously. You earned it." He opened the folder and scanned the reporting structure. Melissa remained his direct supervisor, while the regional creative director would handle final reviews. Nathan's name appeared only at the top of the company hierarchy, nowhere near Jamie's day-to-day work. "There is something else," Melissa said. Human Resources updated the conflict disclosure for the department Friday afternoon. Nothing disciplinary, just an internal safeguard involving executive reporting boundaries. Jamie looked up. "Did Mr. Reed request it?" Melissa hesitated. "You would need to ask him that." Jamie did not have to. He understood immediately. Nathan had done more than stay silent. He had made sure that whatever happened between them outside the office could not quietly become leverage inside it. Jamie carried that thought through the entire day. At 4:40, Nathan entered a creative review meeting and took his usual seat at the end of the table. He challenged a budget estimate, approved 2 concepts, and asked Jamie one question about typography. His tone never changed. "Why this typeface, Parker?" Jamie explained that the wider letter forms improved readability on smaller digital placements. Nathan considered the screen. Good reasoning. Then he moved on. Jamie should have felt relieved. Instead, he noticed how carefully Nathan avoided giving him anything that could be mistaken for favoritism. At 6:15, Jamie returned home, dropped his keys into a ceramic bowl, and found himself staring at his phone again. 6 days of silence. He heated soup, changed into sweatpants, and tried watching television. At 8:03, his phone vibrated. Nader. Jamie sat upright. There was only one message. "I spoke with Human Resources and removed myself from any professional decisions that could directly affect your assignments or evaluations. I will not contact you again unless you want me to. But I need to say one thing clearly. Everything I told you as Nate was true." Jamie read it twice. No request for forgiveness followed. No explanation. No second message appeared when Jamie did not answer. 10 minutes passed. Then 30. Nathan kept his promise. Jamie opened their older conversations and scrolled backward. There were hundreds of messages, but now they felt different. Nate had celebrated when Jamie's poster concept was selected for a local campaign without ever revealing that Nathan had already known about it through company reports. He had listened when Jamie complained about work without defending himself. He had encouraged Jamie's ambitions without offering shortcuts. The secrecy still hurt, but Jamie could no longer pretend the entire relationship had been built on manipulation. At 9:17, he typed, "Why did you tell Human Resources?" His thumb hovered over send. Then he deleted the question. He already knew why. Nathan wanted Jamie's career to remain Jamie's. At 9:26, Jamie typed another message. "Did you eat dinner?" He stared at it and laughed quietly. Of all the things he could say after nearly a week, he had somehow chosen Nathan's favorite question. This time he pressed send. The reply did not come immediately. 1 minute passed. Then 2. Finally, 3 dots appeared. "Yes." Another pause. "Did you?" Jamie smiled at the screen. "That is not permission to become clingy again." Nathan replied, "Understood." 5 seconds later, another message appeared. "But did you?" Jamie laughed so loudly that the sound filled his apartment. For the first time since the cafe, the knot in his chest loosened. He still had questions. Trust would not rebuild itself in one evening. But the choice to open the door again had been his, and that changed everything. The messages did not return to normal overnight, and Jamie was grateful for that. Normal would have been too easy. For the next 4 days, he and Nathan talked carefully, sometimes for 10 minutes, sometimes for an hour, but always after Jamie sent the first message. Nathan never pushed beyond the opening Jamie gave him. At work, nothing changed. Nathan remained Mr. Reed. Jamie remained Parker, and their conversation stayed focused on campaigns, deadlines, and client expectations. Outside the office, Nathan slowly became Nate again, except Jamie no longer allowed the nickname to hide the person behind it. On Thursday night, Jamie finally asked the question he had been avoiding. If we keep talking, what happens next? The typing indicator appeared, vanished, then returned. Whatever you are comfortable with. Jamie frowned at the screen. That sounds like something human resources would write. Nathan replied. I am trying very hard not to make another bad decision. Jamie smiled despite himself. Then answer as Nathan. Nearly a minute passed. I would like another chance to meet you. Properly this time. But I will not ask until you tell me you are ready. Jamie read the message twice. The old Nate would have followed it with 3 more messages, probably including a reminder that Jamie needed sleep. Nathan sent nothing else. The next morning, Jamie arrived at the office early for a regional campaign review. Melissa handed him the presentation controls and told him he would be leading the client discussion himself. Jamie's nerves returned instantly. This was the largest presentation he had handled since joining Reed Creative Group. When Nathan entered with 2 senior executives, Jamie felt the familiar pressure of his presence, but something had changed. Jamie no longer saw a mysterious chief executive officer at the end of the table. He saw the man who worried about disappointing him, the man who overthought text messages, and the man who had deliberately stepped away from decisions affecting Jamie's career. Strangely, that made presenting easier. Jamie walked the room through the campaign strategy, explained the visual system, and answered every client question without looking to Nathan for rescue. When the meeting ended, the regional creative director shook Jamie's hand. Strong work. Nathan waited until everyone else had spoken before adding. Agreed. 1 word. Nothing more. Jamie appreciated it more than praise delivered privately would have meant. That evening, he walked home beneath clear skies, an unusual break in Seattle's spring rain. He stopped outside the cafe where their first meeting had collapsed under the weight of one enormous secret. Through the window, he could see the same small table near the glass. Jamie stood there for almost a minute. Then he opened his phone. Their chat waited at the top of the screen. He typed, deleted, and tried again. Finally, he sent, Saturday, 7 o'clock. Same cafe. The response appeared 30 seconds later. Are you sure? Jamie smiled. Do not make me regret this. Nathan replied, I will try not to. Jamie typed one final message. And this time, no usernames. There was a longer pause before Nathan answered. Then let me introduce myself properly. Nathan Reed, 32. Terrible at relaxing. Apparently clingy. Jamie laughed on the sidewalk. Jamie Parker, 24. Still judging you. Nathan replied, fair. Saturday evening arrived with golden light breaking through the clouds. Jamie entered the cafe at 6:57 and chose the same table. At exactly 7, the door opened. Nathan stepped inside wearing a navy coat and carrying the same blue book. He saw Jamie and stopped. This time there was no confusion in Jamie's face. Nathan approached, but remained standing beside the empty chair. May I? Jamie looked at him for a moment, understanding exactly what Nathan was waiting for. Permission. Choice. A beginning without secrets. Jamie pulled the chair out with his foot and smiled. Sit down, Nathan. Nathan sat down, but for several seconds neither of them reached for the menus. The same cafe surrounded them, the same warm lights reflected against rain-polished windows, and the same blue book rested between them. Yet Jamie felt as though they had arrived somewhere. Completely different. You brought it again, Jamie said, nodding toward the book. Nathan glanced down. I considered leaving it at home. Why did you not? Because the first time I carried it here, I was hiding behind it. Tonight, I thought I should bring it as evidence of poor judgment. Jamie laughed. That might be the most Nathan Reed answer possible. I am still learning what that means. So am I. A server came by, and Jamie ordered hot chocolate again. Nathan chose black coffee. When they were alone, Jamie rested his hands on the table. I need to say something before this becomes a date. Nathan nodded. All right. I do not want to date Nader. Nathan's expression tightened slightly, but he remained quiet. Jamie continued. And I definitely do not want to date Mr. Reed. Nathan almost smiled. That is understandable. I want to know Nathan. The person who can be annoyingly sweet at 11 at night and terrifyingly efficient at 9 in the morning. If those are both you, then I want both. Not one version edited for me. Nathan looked at him for a long moment. That is fair. And no more deciding what information I can handle. Agreed. If something affects me, I get to know. Agreed. Jamie narrowed his eyes. You are making this suspiciously easy. I learned that arguing with you is rarely efficient. There he is. Cold executive Nathan. He has excellent timing. Their drinks arrived, and the tension softened. For the next hour, they talked without usernames, office titles, or carefully protected identities. Nathan told Jamie that he had taken over Reed Creative Group after his mother retired from the company, and that becoming chief executive officer at 29 had changed nearly every friendship he had. People either wanted access to him or became uncomfortable around him. The anonymous design community had been the first place in years where nobody cared about his position. Jamie understood why Nathan had protected it. He still did not approve of the 6 weeks of silence, but understanding and forgiveness did not have to arrive at the same speed. Nathan asked about Jamie's childhood in Oregon, his decision to move to Seattle, and the design teacher who had convinced him to apply to art school. Jamie noticed something important. Nathan already knew pieces of these stories from their messages, but he listened as though hearing them mattered differently face to face. At 9:18, the cafe began stacking chairs on empty tables. Jamie looked at the time. "We have been here more than 2 hours." Nathan glanced at his watch. 2 hours and 18 minutes. Jamie stared at him. "That level of precision is deeply concerning. You knew I had problems before tonight." Outside, the rain had returned in a light mist. They stopped beneath the cafe awning. Nathan did not assume they would leave together. "Thank you for coming," he said. Jamie put his hands into his coat pockets. "You are welcome. May I ask something?" "Depends. Was this a date?" Jamie pretended to consider it. "I said before this becomes a date." Nathan waited. Jamie smiled. Somewhere around the second hot chocolate, it became one. Relief transformed Nathan's face so completely that Jamie suddenly recognized the nervous man from their messages. "Then may I ask for another?" Jamie stepped backward toward the sidewalk. "Send me a message tomorrow." Nathan raised an eyebrow. "Tomorrow?" "Yes. Not tonight. That seems unnecessarily cruel." Jamie laughed. "Good night, Nathan." He turned toward home. His phone remained silent all evening, exactly as requested. The next morning, at 8 o'clock precisely, one message appeared. "Good morning. Is now tomorrow enough?" Jamie smiled before typing back. "You lasted 11 hours. I am impressed." Nathan answered. "It was extremely difficult." Jamie laughed, realizing the sweetest thing about their second beginning was not that Nathan had changed into someone else. It was that he no longer needed to. 3 months later, Jamie stood at the front of a conference room on the 12th floor of Reed Creative Group and watched a regional client approve the campaign he had helped lead. The final presentation filled the wall display behind him, polished after weeks of revisions, late afternoons, and enough coffee to make Nathan complain repeatedly. Melissa Grant sat near the client team with a proud smile. Nathan sat farther down the table beside 2 senior executives, present because the campaign mattered to the company, but completely absent from every decision that had put Jamie in charge of it. When the meeting ended, the regional creative director shook Jamie's hand. "Excellent work, Parker. We want you leading the next launch too." Jamie thanked her, trying not to grin until everyone began leaving. Nathan passed him near the door and paused only long enough to say, "Congratulations. You earned it." "I know," Jamie replied. Nathan's eyes warmed. "Good." Then he walked away. Months earlier, Jamie might have wondered whether Nathan had quietly opened some door for him. Now he knew better. His career belonged to him, and strangely, that made everything between them feel easier. Their relationship had grown through ordinary moments rather than grand gestures. Saturday breakfasts, bookstores, walks along the Seattle waterfront, arguments about movies neither of them would admit were terrible. Nathan still sent messages asking whether Jamie had eaten. Jamie still complained about them while answering every single one. At work, Nathan remained controlled and demanding. Outside it, he laughed more easily, admitted when he was worried, and occasionally sent 3 messages when one would have been sufficient. That evening, Jamie arrived at the Capitol Hill Cafe at 7. Nathan was already waiting at their familiar table. The blue book lay beside his coffee. Jamie stopped when he saw it. "You brought that thing again?" Nathan looked offended. "It has sentimental value. It nearly caused me an identity crisis." "Technically, I caused that." Jamie sat across from him. "Growth. I appreciate the accountability." Nathan slid a hot chocolate toward Jamie. "Congratulations on the campaign." "Thank you." Jamie noticed a small paper bag beside Nathan's chair. "What is that?" "Nothing dramatic. Before you become suspicious." Nathan handed it over. Inside was a ceramic penguin wearing a yellow raincoat. Jamie stared at it, then burst out laughing. You actually found one. It took 6 weeks. You spent 6 weeks looking for a ridiculous penguin? I prefer the term committed. Jamie placed it carefully on the table beside the blue book. For a moment, the two objects seemed to hold their entire story between them. The joke from the nights when they had known each other's thoughts but not each other's faces, and the book from the evening when everything hidden had finally become visible. Nathan's phone buzzed with a work notification. He turned it face down without checking it. I have something to tell you, Jamie said. Nathan immediately became serious. All right. Jamie smiled at how quickly the confident chief executive officer could become nervous around 5 ordinary words. I am happy. Nathan blinked. Jamie continued. With my work. With Seattle. With this. With you. The tension left Nathan's shoulders. I am happy too. Jamie reached across the table and rested his hand over Nathan's. Good. Because you are still clingy. You knew that before our second first date. I did. And you stayed. Jamie looked at the blue book, remembering how badly he had wanted to understand which version of Nathan was real. The answer now seemed simple. The man across from him could be demanding and gentle, reserved and ridiculous, powerful and uncertain. None of those things canceled the others. They simply made him whole. Jamie looked back at Nathan and smiled. Yes, he said. I stayed because this time, I knew exactly who I was choosing.